Welcome to the What Drives You podcast. Brought to you from Motorvation Car Club HQ, we will explore the journeys of successful individuals from a variety of industries. Our mission is to pass on knowledge and experience from people further ahead in the journeys and uncover the stories behind the successes and failures. This will provide valuable insights and inspiration to help you. In each episode, we'll dive into the personal and professional lives of our guests, discussing the motivations, the challenges, and the pivotal moments that have shaped their careers. We'll explore the driving forces behind their achievements, uncovering the lessons they've learned along the way, and the advice they would give to aspiring entrepreneurs and professionals. From business leaders, sporting professionals, and creative visionaries, our guests will share a unique perspective on what it takes to allow you to achieve your goals as fast as possible. Join us as we embark on this exciting journey, discovering the passions and motivations that drive some of the most influential figures in their respective fields. So buckle up and get ready to be inspired. Gary, nice to see you. Gary Robertson, founder and director of Possible Estate Agents. You started your business in 2020 and have built a solid reputation and presence in Perthshire housing market, concluding over 650 sales to date. Within your first year of business, you were winner of a gold award in your sector, which was judged against thousands of other UK estate agents. In 2022, you were shortlisted as most promising new business by the Perthshire Chamber of Commerce Business Star Awards. And most recently, you've been asked to be a judge for the Perthshire Chamber of Commerce. Gary, welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to see your little setup that you've got here.
Yeah, thanks very much. And first podcast. Nice to welcome you into Motorvation Car Club HQ. I think it's probably not very fitting that you've brought an electric car in today in what should be a petrolhead's haven, but yeah, I really like the branding. It's looking good, so thanks for coming in.
That's all right, no problem at all. It was the choice of the car was kind of in line with the type of business that we like to be. Responsible, we're obviously kind of energy efficient, all this kind of side of stuff, looking after the environment and everything. But the Mini's quite a cool car, goes like an absolute rocket as well. It's certainly faster than the car that I drive myself, to be honest with you. But
there is zero lag.
Nothing at all. It's like Mario Kart. It's like press it, go, and it's a nippy little car to be honest. But it does turn a few heads. We got it wrapped in the mat just to kind of make it, kind of stand out. One big logo, and it just kind of gives a bit of kind of pop. But we think it's a really, really cool car to be honest.
It's really classy, and I think, like you say, you know exactly who it is locally, and I think that's important. So. Kudos, it looks really good.
Thank you very much. There's a couple of little cool details on the back of it as well. We've got some kind of like reflective stuff that you can't see in the daylight. You can only see it when the light kind of hits the back of it if you're driving behind it. So, we quite like it, yeah.
So obviously the Mini is very functional for being a works car, but generally, are you a motivated type of individual? Are you into cars? Do you use that as something that's maybe aspirational in the future or right now?
I do like cars. I wouldn't say I'm overly a major kind of petrol head or anything like that, to be honest with you. I know I've had a couple of look at the cars that you've got here, but
you had your eye on a green Porsche.
Somebody else beat me to it. Yeah, but I do like driving a nice car to feel comfortable in it. I'm not one of the guys that ever breaks the speed limit, to be honest with you. My girlfriend will always be talking about me driving a bit too slow sometimes, but I do like nice cars, but nothing too flashy. That's just not me, to be honest with you. Yeah.
No, listen. Yeah. Each to their own. It's not the be all and end all either, is it?
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it can serve a purpose for getting you from A to B as comfortably as you can. So for me, that's probably
nice to have a bit of fun in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well. Yeah, your Lotus over there is looking a bit more appealing every time I see it, to be fair. But
that's just came in, and it's kind of put me on the back foot because it's so rare that I'm scratching my head how to value it. Yeah. So, but that's good. It's a good problem to have, and I'm really excited about listing that. So hopefully it'll get put up very soon. So obviously today we want to chat about business really, and being down here in Motorvation HQ, just the association of things that drive you, and the things that help us get out of bed in the morning. And we have had a few chats previously, and I just wanted to kind of formalise it so people can have an insight into what it's like being Gary Robertson and running possible estate agents. So I hope you don't mind me asking, how old were you when you started the business?
When I started the business, I would have been 39.
Okay.
39 I would have been, yeah. So
not
I know
a particularly
I
not a particularly young entrepreneur, perhaps.
Yep.
You'd had a bit of a career journey before that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it probably took me longer, I think, to kind of gain experience, knowledge, a lot of learnings along the way to get to the stage where I felt ready to do it, to be honest with you, yeah.
So was it something that you had been considering for a while, but maybe a bit of trepidation, nervousness, or were you just being a little bit strategic?
It wasn't something I'd had my heart set on, to be honest. I mean, I had a lot of friends, family, clients kind of saying to me kind of over the years, I should be doing it, why am I not doing it? And I kind of probably had a couple of people that I really, really looked up to in business that asked me that question and couldn't answer why I wasn't doing it.
Okay.
And it kind of stuck in my head. I mean, I think the big prompt for me was I started the business during COVID, during lockdown.
Yeah.
So when I was furloughed, lying in a beanbag in the garden for weeks and weeks and weeks, it gives you a lot of kind of time to ponder things and life, business, career, all that kind of side of stuff. And I think that gave me time to just kind of take a step back, think about where I wanted to go with my career, and just jump for it and just go for it. I mean, I think I was the last person I had to convince. Everybody else seemed to think that I could do it.
Okay.
But I felt like I was the last person to convince that I could try it.
That's got to be a nice endorsement of your skill set and you as a person, though.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's people out there that are the polar opposite. They think that they've got what it takes.
Yeah.
But there's maybe other factors or maybe people's opinion that is holding them back.
Yeah.
So fair play.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Thank you very much.
Was the pandemic really then the mitigating factor, just to take a breath?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. I mean, for a lot of people, it made a lot of people, like I say, reevaluate a lot of different things that was going on in their life and everything like that. And me, for my career, that gave me a chance to sit back and just really kind of, what am I going to do for the next kind of 10, 15, 20 years in my working life?
Yeah.
Do I give it a go? Maybe fail and then do something else, or do I just sit tight, do what I'm doing, and then maybe have that regret?
Probably a lot of people were worried, obviously, through lockdowns and stuff like that, but they wouldn't associate what happened then with being the right time and starting a business.
Yeah.
Do you think there is potentially a right time to start a business?
I don't think there is. I mean, I think I can see it on the other side now. You're never ready for it. I think that sounds like a cliche. There's never a right time. I think I probably justified it in my head that if I could make a go of it at this time when things were probably going to be really bad, I could come out of it like a one-man band and do what I could just to survive and then grow from there. I think it was just what's the worst that can happen type thing. I had some good, friends and family around me that, and the thing is, if it didn't work, I could have went back to just working for an estate agent if I decided to go back into that. But thankfully, it did work. And, I should have done it years ago. Everybody I've spoken to who starts their own business probably says that. They should have done it years ago. And I just wish that, I should have done it years ago. And people I kind of speak to that are maybe thinking about doing something kind of similar, I am encouraging a lot of people to think about doing it because it's great. It's very liberating.
So looking back then, what do you think was the factor that was holding you back?
Fear, to be honest. Where's the next wage coming from? It was just that fear of failure, fear of actually doing it. I think that was really the only thing.
Okay.
I knew my industry, I knew what I was doing. I felt like, I had the right values and ethos when it comes to, helping people, sell their property. And I knew what I was doing. It was just taking that jump. That was all it was. There was a lot of things that I didn't know. The whole kind of, tax, accountancy, all the kind of financials and all this kind of side of stuff. But I've got some great people that do all that for us. It's, payroll, all that kind of things. You can outsource a lot of that kind of. I didn't need to know everything, and I still don't know everything, and I don't want to know everything at the end of the day. I've got a great team in the business, but out with the business, there's a real kind of, group of people that do all these things that, I don't know how to do.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do everything, do you?
No, not at all.
If your mindset is that is the case,
yeah,
you're going to talk yourself out of doing anything.
Yeah, but I think if you have it in your mind, if you start a business, you want to do absolutely everything forever, you're just going to become a bit of a control freak. Yeah. And I think you're probably going to burn yourself out very, very quickly. And you have to have a lot of trust in the people in your business, your staff, the people outside the business as well. If you don't trust them to do that, then they're never going to grow either. And empowering them, encouraging them, helping them develop just makes my life easier as well. So it's a no-brainer when it comes to that side of stuff for me.
So through the people that were supportive at that time, was there any mentors or role models that you had that you could like break bread with and actually seek advice from? Yeah.
There was a couple of people I spoke to. There was a couple of friends that I spoke to, but there was a couple of guys in business that I knew, and I just needed that kind of sounding board and to say, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing. And both of them pretty much the first thing they said was, why is it taking you so long? And they couldn't have been more helpful, from offering me office space, offering me camera equipment. They were just really, really helpful and just wanted to see me doing well. And that's something that kind of has stuck with me and something that I hope to kind of pass on as well. There's nothing better than seeing people doing well for themselves. And to think that you've played a tiny little part in helping them encourage them to do well for themselves, I think is brilliant. I think it's really good.
Do you think dealing with those type of people, like the positive, supportive people, just brings a different type of energy to things?
100%. I think if you go into business thinking that you know better than people and that you are going to be the only person driving things forward and the only person or the best at something, I think you can feel isolated, but you can also isolate yourself as well. I think there's nothing better than you've had a hard day, things haven't gone well, you can pick the phone up to someone or message someone. Things must go
well every day in your life, surely.
Absolutely not. I wish they did. But that's the challenges of, the world as it is just now, to be honest with you, society. But, running a business is not all happiness and light. A guy that, one of the guys that I did speak to years and years ago that asked me, why am I not doing it? That I kind of stuck in the back of my head, said, running a business is all about, the highs are higher, the lows are lower. And if you get more highs than low, then you're doing all right. And that's true. To think that you're going to start a business and everything's going to be hunky-dory, it's going to be rosy and easy, you're setting yourself up for a big fall.
Yeah, the concern is that probably our mindsets generally always flip to the negative.
Yeah.
And it's hard to break that, isn't it?
Definitely.
Especially when there's a risk involved.
Yeah.
There's a bit of fear.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's easy to talk yourself out of doing that thing
Definitely,
that you really want to do.
Yeah.
But once you break through, it's quite liberating.
Yeah. The mindset thing is huge. I mean, your whole, your fitness, your kind of mental well-being, your physical well-being, it all goes hand in hand, and I think when you're in that good place that you can feel that you can't do everything, but you could almost do anything you put your mind to. It sounds like a cliche, and I used to remember hearing that and thinking, it's just absolute nonsense.
It's just an energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. It's the fear of it.
It's contagious, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Too contagious sometimes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you need to learn that you maybe can't take over the world right away.
No.
But yeah, it's interesting to me that it maybe took you a little bit longer to realise, only from a perspective that everyone associates that you must be a baller in your 20s, and by your 30s you need to be bossing it, whatever you're desired to do.
Yeah.
And just to touch on a couple of people that I have, associates I know, they started maybe 40, 42, 43, sorry, and they exited their industries within 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Done, retired.
Yeah.
But it just shows you by association, like you need to be able to hone your skills.
Yeah,
and then
100%. And I think I underestimated over the years how many relationships and clients had maybe kind of built up, or people that I just got to know, or who knew I was because I'd helped them with a sale, or I'd helped a relative with a sale over the years, that, when I started the business, we grew pretty quickly. And I think I completely underestimated how much all of that helped that side of stuff. But there's people that would, one of my friends, he's got his own estate agency over the kind of, the West Coast, in his 20s started his business, and he's just went like that, just by sheer passion and sheer enthusiasm. There's different ways of doing it. There's not a one size kind of fits all.
Yeah.
When I had my son, Louis, when I was kind of in my mid kind of 20s, so that probably took more of a focus for me compared to I wanted to start a business in my 20s or my, late 20s or early 30s. I was more kind of focused on that side of it, maybe a bit more risk adverse, kind of,
which is understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. It was the right thing for me to do at that time, and I wouldn't, kind of change it or anything like that at all, because all the years that I've built up, like I say, the experience, the knowledge, the kind of, connections and stuff I got within the industry now has got the business already to where it is within the kind of 3 years we've been going, to be honest. Yeah.
And Louis, yeah,
Yep.
he can look up to his dad and think in
We've got plans for him already. Yeah. He's
that you pulled the trigger on it, and you did what you wanted to do.
And I think that's something, when I was at primary school, there was never really a conversation with primary school kids at my primary school about you could potentially start your own business, you could maybe do this, or it was always about putting kids into kind of, you'll maybe work doing that, you'll maybe work doing that. There was no, the whole prospect of running a business at primary and maybe even secondary school as well was just not something that ever crossed my mind. And that's something that, Louis is 16 now, talking to him, I'm giving him little kind of nuggets of, well, maybe you could do this, or maybe you could do that. If you stick in with your job, then you never know, you could maybe take it, and he's 16. And I think speaking to kids at that kind of age and even younger to open up, that in their mind that I could do this myself. I don't have to work for someone forever. I could start my own thing. I could find my own little side hustle that might grow into a bigger kind of, thing.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really important to get the kids doing that, that entrepreneurial spark kind of thing. So I just wish someone would have that conversation with me when I was younger at that age as well.
How does the term entrepreneur make you feel?
I don't know if I don't think of myself as that, to be honest with you. I know I just feel like a guy who's got a passion for what he does, decided to start a version of it that is a little bit different.
I can see that it makes you feel slightly uncomfortable.
Because when I think of entrepreneurs, I think of,
Yeah, no, I think
all the usual guys.
People in my circle makes them feel equally as comfortable.
Right.
Because I think they say self-praise isn't any praise, but I think the definition's somewhat, maybe you start your own venture and take some sort of risk. That's like the definition of the entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah.
I think.
Fair enough.
So it probably does fit the category.
Yeah.
But if you're humble, it makes certainly maybe feel a little bit uptight.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I didn't. There was no part of my mind thought I want to be an entrepreneur, or that wasn't a goal at all, to be honest with you. But if I, by default, fit that category, then fine.
So be it. So one of the questions that interests me is the business name.
Yeah.
Pretty short and snappy.
Yeah.
What was the theory behind it?
So that was actually one of the last things that I decided on, to be honest with you. It was something I did give a lot of thought on, but it was very simple in some ways. So there was a few different factors that I wanted to make sure that were important to the business name. I didn't want it to have my name on it. I didn't want to have Robertson Properties or something that meant I was the figurehead of the business, because, the business is more than me, and obviously at some point I may want to exit the business. I didn't want it to have a geographical tie to it, so I didn't want it to have the word Perth in it, or Tay, or Perthshire, or something like that, which might limit where we could potentially grow the business. And I've never ever thought of what I do as just houses and, property. So I didn't want to have the word home or property in either. I've always thought of what I do as something more than that. So I kind of made those kind of three things, and then I started to write down what it is that I thought I actually do. What do I think I actually do for people, rather than just selling a property for them? And it was making things happen for people, making things possible for people. So that's the name, where the name Possible came from. It's a nice word to say as well, to be honest with you. It's I think it's got an aspirational name, to be honest with you. A lot of people think it's got about 3 or 4 different meanings, but it's essentially trying to make things possible for people. Yeah. That's where it came from.
And everyone wants their either home to be sold and their dream home to be purchased.
Yep.
And that to wave a magic wand and take all the stress out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that's where you come in. But I'm sure your job daily is difficult managing expectations.
I think in this changing market this year it is, yeah. And it's for me, because I've been in the industry for almost 20 years now, I've been in this type of market before. A couple of years ago, 2022 as well, last year, the market was insane. You didn't have to have as many conversations with people. There was so many buyers out there. Interest rates were so low. This market this year is challenging, but it's normal. This is how the market kind of is. But going from a really, really crazy market back to a normal market, that can create uncertainty for people. So you have to hold hands a bit more throughout this year, throughout the whole kind of process. That's buyers and sellers. Even people that we don't have any connection with, we're trying to guide them through it as well. And it brings out the best agents that are out there, I think, and the best people in there, that they can handle this market. They know how to navigate it, and they know how to thrive in it, as opposed to just kind of trying to survive in it. But it has been difficult.
Business must go on.
Absolutely, yeah. People always need to buy and sell houses. There's so many different reasons why we help people sell a house. It's not always good reasons. It can be separation, someone passing away, someone's relocating for a job, upsizing, downsizing, having there's so many different kind of, reasons for it, but there's always a need for it. Yeah. And the way we look at it is, we just want to make sure that we're helping that person get to that place that they want to go. We're making it possible for them, basically. That's ultimately how we treat the job.
So what's the unique selling point of the business?
Unique selling point for us, certainly in the Perthshire market, is we're purely dedicated to selling houses. It's the only thing we do.
Makes you different?
In the Perthshire market, absolutely. There's nobody else that can say that. Okay. Other businesses might have, do legal work, rentals, mortgages, and estate agency is just one part of it. For us, it's everything that we do. So if anybody decides to, choose us to help, then they get every single member of the team behind them, purely working on how can we get them the best result, how can we make the whole process as easy as we can for them, yeah. Okay.
And it seems to be working. How do you let people know
that? We don't try and shout about it. We do obviously certain things in social media to let people know what we're doing, and certain kind of milestones we reach and things like that. And we have won some awards, which is fantastic. We don't want to make it sound like we're bragging about these kind of things. We celebrate our own little milestones, because if we don't, who else is going to celebrate them kind of for you? But we try and let our clients do the talking when it comes to that. We know that if we, do a good job for someone, look after someone, that might not mean that they get tens of thousands over their valuation price, or it might not mean maybe don't even sell their house. But if they feel that we've looked after them, they might recommend us to a friend, work colleague, and that just, that little ripple effect continues on and on and on for every single person that we help. in terms of like the branding and stuff, we do things. Obviously, we've got the car now, social media, we've got a couple of banners and kind of things going like that. But the single biggest way we generate business is word of mouth and recommendations.
Okay.
And I think that for any business has to be the goal, to be honest.
I think that's business in a nutshell, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
If
so.
you're wanting something that's going to be
Yeah, I
sustainable.
certainly think so. Yeah.
So, in this competitive landscape, when everyone's probably getting 2 or 3 quotes or whatever for selling their house, is it hard to stay true to your values?
Not for us. I wouldn't say for us, to be honest with you. Again, I've said it a couple of times. We always try and take the long-term view on things. We've got a certain culture and a certain set of values within the business that we want to stick to. When you come into our office, it's on the website as well, actually. The 3 key things for us is trust, empathy, and professionalism. And that we try and implement into every single thing that we do, whether it's a view and evaluation, chatting to someone on the phone, all of those kind of side of stuff. So for us to break away from those values just to get one single property or to try and push someone into taking an offer or something, it would have a negative impact at some point further down the line. And we couldn't just chop and change that just to scramble and grab as much, because that would become pretty obvious. And I think certainly my thoughts are to have a long, successful business, you have to stick to that. Rather than trying to just grab every single bit of business. If we stick to our values, stick to our ethos on our approach to it, the business will come. It can be difficult sometimes when you're getting someone to say, someone's asking you, can you match this, can you do that? We just try and distinguish ourselves and maybe explain why we can't do that, or, again, just kind of try and reaffirm what we're all about and what we're going to do for them. And the big USP that we've got, the fact that we'd be purely dedicated to selling the house. Every single one of us would be purely dedicated to doing that.
In that kind of mindset then, where you need to stay true to your values, it can be hard, I'm sure, on the months that maybe the sales figures aren't quite there.
Yeah.
Do you ever arm wrestle with yourself, or do you bounce it off other people, or is that it, hard and fast, this is what we set up to do, this is what we stick to?
I think there can be, the property market can be, peaks and troughs. And sometimes, you could have a fantastic month, 1 month, and then all of a sudden you could do half as much the next month. And that's because you're not selling the same property every single month. So it can be quite unpredictable, kind of, like that.
Is that maybe a bit of an emotional roller coaster sometimes?
Absolutely, yeah, for clients as well as us, to be honest with you, yeah. But I think we're very good at chatting things out as a team. If, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, what do you think of that? Sometimes I can probably be a little bit too kind of, I think we should do that, but then, throw it open to the team, and they'll maybe give a bit of feedback that makes you think, oh, actually, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that kind of thing. So, and just remind ourselves that, our approach to things and our version of what we do has got us to where we are. So we do kind of reflect back on, year 1, year 2, year 3, month to month and things, and, look at little kind of wins and things that we've kind of had to remind us that it is working, it has worked. But at the same time, we're not just going to completely lock ourselves into kind of, that vision. If we can add little bits onto it, we've done a couple of good investments this year in the whole AI side of stuff, which is changing things. We're always looking at ways to improve, but at the same time, kind of stay on that kind of path as to what we're all about, which will hopefully take us into, new areas, new locations and things like that as well. That's the aim anyway. We don't just want to stay in Perth and be there, just there forever.
So I'm assuming when you look back now at the lockdown period, you're glad you got out of your comfort zone and put your fear to one side.
That's where the magic happens, absolutely. I got off the beanbag in the garden, out into my comfort zone, absolutely.
So has that been the same kind of setting mentally now? Has there been a shift in your mindset since you started the business?
100%. I probably find myself trying to, or spotting little opportunities when I see people and think they could be doing their own thing, or, referring back to, my son Louis, I kind of, now the way that I kind of think in things, there's nothing stopping him starting his own business as young as he is. It absolutely changes your mindset on things. I've been very lucky that it has went well, because I know that doesn't always happen. And, we've been doing well so far, but it might not last forever. And that's obviously down to me and the team to make sure that it does keep going. But it definitely changes your mindset. Absolutely changes your mindset on it, 100%.
How do you think the comfort zone relationship is with people's opinion of you with regards to risk and failure, and the outside sources have an influence in your life?
In terms of what? What do you mean?
So you're sitting there in your beanbag in the garden and you've been talking yourself potentially out of starting Possible for a little while. Are these conversations ever consisted of, well, what would people think of me if it failed?
I don't think I thought of that, to be no, I don't think I did. I probably thought of it, what would I think? How would I feel? As opposed to what would they think? Because I know, my closest friends and my family, my girlfriend, Louis, they would all be there for me. They would still be there regardless of what I do. And I remember listening to a podcast, and, it was a guy had written a letter to his younger self, basically saying, that if you do fail, you're going to have this massive kind of, support blanket over you if it doesn't kind of, work out. And it's true. I mean, those kind of people were there for me when I thought about starting a business. And if it didn't go well, they would be still there for me. Those were the people that I kind of confided in and valued their opinion in. And those are the people that would be there if it didn't go well. And it might not still go well. It might go.
No, I'm sure it will.
For whatever reason, it might be out of my control. But they'll always be there for me, is the bottom line. You need those type of people. You can't do something like this alone. And I mean that in terms of colleagues or friends and family and support, and the business community as well. And being involved with the Chamber of Commerce locally, it's been really good for reaching out to people for advice, people asking me for advice. I mean, asking me for advice, just blows my mind, to be honest with you. But it creates that little support network within itself. It's really good to have that. People that have walked the walk well before me, for multiple businesses, willing to give up some of their time to give me advice. So
was your friend's advice right, that you'll have higher highs and lower lows?
I would say so, yeah, absolutely. But again, that comes down to a mindset. You could beat yourself up about so much more. But, if it's out with your control, nothing you can do about it, then why beat yourself up about it? Why let it consume you or impact on your mood? Easier said than done, but...
Have you got anything in the tools that you use to just overcome a setback? And
probably the gym, to be honest. I mean, the gym, exercising is 100% one of the best ways of getting yourself out of that kind of funk, and talking to someone as well. I mean, there'll be, my girlfriend Laura, I'll always be kind of bouncing things off her or sounding things off to her.
She works in the business also?
She does, yeah, so it brings its own challenges, yeah.
So you'll be like a broken down record?
It can be sometimes, yeah, it can be. But just, yeah, you've got to kind of get some of these things out, either verbally or physically. I think that's the best way to be. Reading books as well kind of helps as well. You've got to have I certainly found that you've got to have your own little strategies to help you out of that. Because if you don't, you can stew and it can consume you, and it can take longer for you to get out of it if you don't try and do something about it.
So do these things help you switch off?
Yeah, definitely. And even speaking to like a guy like yourself, there can be times, I came down here before to kind of chat to you, and that kind of reignites the spark sometimes, just kind of other people that are passionate about what they do. It reminds you of the passion you've got for what you do. Sometimes it's difficult to see if you've had a crap day or lots of things kind of, hitting you. You can use these kind of coping mechanisms to get yourself out of it.
There's when I was on about the trait of these entrepreneurs not really calling themselves entrepreneurs, I think the same people in the same category are great at giving advice and maybe not taking their own advice.
Right, yeah.
Do you fall into that category?
I would say a bit. I'm very big on trying to tell the team, or even friends that have got their own business, to try and switch off or take your time off your work and things. And I'm probably a bit guilty of not doing that, to be fair. Not because I don't want to switch off or don't want to take time off, but it's easier said than done. I mean, we've grown pretty rapidly. Our businesses kind of went up, the market's changed, so it's more challenging. So it's been difficult to do that. But I think any business at the start, you've got to do that kind of extra. But yeah, I think there's definitely sometimes take my own advice would probably be a New Year's resolution, to be honest. Yeah.
I think they call it gut feeling.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's easier said than done.
Absolutely. And if you love what you do, it's difficult to completely shut yourself off from that, to be honest, yeah.
Maybe when you've got other responsibilities also, the team.
Yeah.
It might calibrate your risk sometimes, or do you find being the director can be a lonely place, or is the team there as a sounding board for everything always?
Excuse me. I don't feel like the director. I think I just feel like one of the team. Is the way
you are the director.
I know that. I've got to pay the bills and all that stuff. But I do feel a massive sense of responsibility when it comes to the team about making sure they're okay, encouraging them, developing them, all that kind of side of stuff. But I try not to, create a barrier between I'm this and you're that kind of thing. I've got a slightly bigger monitor in the office than everyone else, and that's only because my eyesight's bad.
That's so pretentious.
Not because I've think I'm anything different or anything like that. And I offered them all a bigger monitor, but none of them wanted it. So it wasn't a case of me kind of pulling rank, to be honest. Yeah.
So now the business has become established. You've been asked to go and judge some other business people for the Perthshire Chamber of Commerce. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
That's quite an accomplishment.
It's been great. I've loved it. I loved every minute of it, actually, yeah.
How did it feel analysing other people's businesses and analysing other people that have roles and responsibilities?
It was probably twofold, actually. It actually made me realise that there's some amazing businesses out there and amazing people in some of these businesses that I was completely unaware of. I'll hold my hands up, I was unaware of some of these businesses. And the people in them, the passion that they've got for what they do, how good at their job they are, gave me a bit more of a spark of, this has been a tough year for us, and it's probably, it's coming into that kind of time of year where it's getting a little bit quiet for us, and I've kind of probably felt myself tiring a little bit because of how busy it's been throughout the year. But chatting to those kind of types of people, hearing about what motivates them, where their motivation comes from and why they do what they do, really kind of reignited it in me again. So it's been absolutely brilliant. It's been really good.
It's back to the energy thing I'm talking
about. Absolutely, yeah.
It's amazing when you start surrounding yourself.
Yeah.
Again, if you're on a bit of a lull.
Definitely.
Rather than just work.
Yeah.
Work,
I know.
So when it comes to what's the drivers nowadays for you, I'm assuming that you're probably on the golf course at Gleneagles 4 days a week, are you? That not the case?
I've recently got back into golf. I'm not a great golfer at all, but again, it helps me relax and switch off as well. But I'm still very much focused on making a difference for people. That ultimately, making it possible for people, that is my single biggest driving factor for the business. And even probably, into my life side of stuff as well, with obviously Louis, my girlfriend, family, anything I can do to help people. It's a great feeling to do that and to know that you've made a difference to people or, done something good for someone. That for me comes before any kind of, we want X amount of branches or profit or anything like that. That's the single biggest thing for me.
Before the profit?
I think if you look after that side of stuff, the profit will come. I think if you're purely focused on the profit, you're getting the priority around the wrong way, and I think you'll start to make decisions that might not help in the long run. That's my opinion on it. Okay.
Again, hard on the months.
That might change.
Yeah, hard on the months that things maybe aren't going well.
Yeah.
But I admire that you're always playing the long game.
Yeah.
And I think that not only listeners will hear that in this interview, I think you can kind of see that in your market approach, because you don't seem like the new kid on the block.
We still feel like it, yeah. I know what you mean. It's over 3 years we've been going now, but we still feel like we're just getting started.
But that just shows you the power of marketing.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And yeah, I'm very envious of how well you've done on a marketing front.
Thank you very much.
Because I'm a little bit of a marketing novice, and we had this conversation ourselves recently, and I'm finding it difficult. Did that just come naturally to you?
I've always had a bit of a... So backtrack, you're better at it than you think you are, because I always look at your stuff and think your marketing's brilliant. It's really, really good.
Oh, it's really not, Gary.
I've always at college I studied graphic design, photography. I've always had a little bit of an interest in...
Is photography a hobby, or is that...
Yeah, it was, yeah. That's how I kind of got into kind of property way back in the day, to be honest with you, yeah. But I've always had an interest in marketing and promotion and things like that. So I think I've had a little bit of a head start on that side of stuff. I think it's something that I'm really interested in and quite intrigued about where things are going in the marketing side of stuff, the social media and the branding kind of side. I really enjoyed that kind of side of it. You know, just to get the actual P part of the logo together. You have no idea how long that took to get that, but it was so important to get right.
I'll stop you there, because we've got a thin blue line that goes along Motorvation HQ, and that thin blue line took up like 6 months to figure out. So, but if you rush it, you're going to have to do it again.
You want to change it, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So again, the long game.
Yeah, definitely.
It pays dividends.
Definitely.
So what does success look like to you?
God, it's not about numbers. It's not about percentages or stats for me. I think success looks like to me that one day I can pass this business on to someone else and they can take it on and do their version of it. And I can look back and think, do you know what? I was brave enough to give it a go. It did okay, and I've got a decent life at the end of it because of it. It's not about, and this is just my version, obviously, you know, it's not about what belongings it can get me, or like I say, the numbers that we kind of, you know, do. The numbers can be important, obviously, but success for me would be, you know, I've left a bit of a, not a legacy, but left a little bit of a impression on kind of, you know, people, and that at some point they might think that was that guy that helped sell that house, that helped us do that and helped us do that kind of thing. That's the way I look at it.
I have a little bit of nervousness in that answer, to be honest, from you. Because do you think there's maybe any parallels with your COVID beanbag days and kind of being a bit understated and selling yourself short on what you can achieve?
I don't think...
Because I'm really wanting to sell you a Porsche one day.
I know if I got the opportunity, I probably wouldn't do it. I'd probably not do it. I would probably feel bad for doing it. It's just my upbringing, you know, grew up on a council estate. I'd probably feel bad about it, to be honest. And my friends would never let me hear the end of it, to be honest with you. But not to say that I wouldn't buy a really nice car. What I would say, I mean, I wouldn't say don't confuse what I've said with lack of ambition. You know, I am very ambitious. You know, I want to grow the company. And I do drive the company and the people in that business. It's not a, yeah, you know, nicey, what will be kind of thing. It's not like that at all. But I think there's a balance somewhere.
Okay.
Like if you get too consumed on, you know, you want to be massive, yes, the vision can drag you kind of there. But if you just do whatever it takes, rightly or wrongly, you know, it might not end well.
You sound like a guy that's enjoying the journey, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Best thing I've ever done. In my whole working career, best thing I've ever done.
Do you think maybe if it was being the biggest was the sole ambition, and having the largest profit margin that month was the sole ambition, would that be enough to give you that buzz? Or would it become maybe a little bit, I don't know, less fun?
I think you would lose the personal touch. I mean, we've built up friendships and really good relationships with a lot of the clients that we've helped previously or helping again, or even buyers that bought properties from us are now coming back to us to sell a property because of, the interactions and stuff we kind of had. Relationships are built with people in like the business community. I'm not a hard-nosed, trailblazer, super aggressive, does what it takes just to push past everybody. It's just not in my kind of nature to be that way. But at the same time, you do get a taste for doing well, and you do start to think, right, maybe we can grow, maybe we can do this extra, and we can do that extra. That starts to kind of, like little kind of things, and
starts to build momentum.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that's one thing we've had since the business started is momentum, and it's been constant. And that's we've probably grown too fast in some respects. That's brought its own challenges as well. But that's just over 3 years now. I always had a 5-year plan that I wanted 3 branches within 5 years, and we're still well on course for that. We are ambitious. I'm an ambitious person, without losing my values. I think if you do start to lose your values, then you're just going to lose yourself within the whole mix of it, basically.
Yeah, I think it would probably be fair to say that perhaps people maybe have misplaced expectations of what will make you happy.
Yeah, 100%.
And that doesn't seem like that's the case for you.
I think I feel very happy with the small things, I like to think. And I think if you can find happiness in the small things and the family things and, friends and things, then the extra things are just massive bonuses, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of reading and podcasts and stuff on exactly that. What is it that makes people happy? And I think, it was, that was a really good, I can't remember exactly who the guy was, but there was a whole room of, richest people in the world, all in this kind of room, and they were talking about, I've got this car, I've got this many cars, I've got that car, I've got that car, I've got this house, all this kind of side of stuff. And there was a guy that said, I cannot remember who it is, probably would have been wise for me to think of this before, but he basically said, I've got something that you guys don't have and will never ever get. And they were all up in arms about, there's nothing that, And they were like, well, what is it? And he said, enough. He had enough to make himself happy, enough to make himself feel successful. He didn't have to keep doing all these things to try and make him feel better or happier. And I just thought that's a nice way of putting it, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So let's visualise that there's people out there right now that are maybe procrastinating, that are looking to start a business. Their friends or family are like saying to them they should be. What's the advice?
I'll give you 50 grand and take 50% of your business. I wouldn't do that. Sometimes it just needs a conversation with someone who's done it. And I don't mean done it as in I've not completed it or whatever, the way kind of, goes. But someone who's taken that step.
You've taken that massive
absolutely.
first step.
Yeah. I mean, before I started my business, there was a couple of people that I knew that were working for people, and I knew they would be amazing at starting their own business. And I said to them, this is before I started my business. And you just know sometimes that something would work for someone. But depending obviously what industry it is, obviously finances and investment, that is obviously a big thing. I didn't get any investment, in terms of, banks or, I took a little bit of a loan. Family were basically the way that I kind of funded it, basically. It was all kind of kept, within us kind of thing. There wasn't any kind of external, lending or anything. There's no debt in the business or anything like that. I was very fortunate, kind of for that. But I think if someone is out there thinking, I'm not sure if I should do it, not sure if I'm ready, speaking to maybe kind of 2 or 3 different people from different industries who have done it, who've taken that leap to start their own business, because they will probably find that they had exactly the same thoughts about it. And I think that sometimes creates a bit of a leveler that you think, well, he had all the same insecurities, the same worries, the same fears that I'm having, and it's worked out well for them. That can then spark off the whole thing about, how's it going to be funded, branding, all this kind of side of stuff after that. I think once you start thinking about that you could do it, I think that's a path that is difficult to get off of. Sometimes
it's an itch you want to scratch.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a bit of time. longer than others. Some take longer than others, but I think it is a difficult thing to get off of when you start to think, I could maybe do that. I think it's a good path to be on.
It sounds as though you took the advice from the right people.
I'd like to think so, yeah. There was nobody that I spoke to said, don't do it. That'll be the worst thing you did. Everybody who I've spoken to who started their own business has always said it's the best thing they've ever done.
So maybe in summary, take advice from people that have walked the walk.
Yeah, absolutely. I think until you do that, you're going to be creating scenarios in your head thinking, well, what if that, what if this, what if that? I mean, one of the guys I spoke to, when I'd start to say I don't know anything about the tax, the finance or anything, or, all that kind of side of stuff, get an accountant. That was it. That was the only advice he gave me. And I was like, all right, okay. Here's a marketing company. Here's this, here's that. And it took away all the little doubts. And I thought, I'm now on this path, and these things have been cut away. So there's less and less things stopping me doing that. Take advice from people who've actually decided to take the plunge.
And walk the walk.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I think on that note, that's been really insightful. And I thank you wholeheartedly for coming into the podcast, because this is something I've wanted to do for a while. And I think that although you're probably on the earlier side of the journey, I think that massive first step that you took is a really valuable one to share, because I'm sure you'll agree that 1 or 2 or 3 years in business passes pretty quick.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's amazing what you can do. And
absolutely.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It would be great to have you on. If you're 3 years into your 5-year plan, it'd be great if you come back and tell us again how that's going.
Yeah.
But for now, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for asking me.